The ship was old. Kang Do-hyun knew every sound it made. He knew the hum of the engines, the rattle of the air vents, and the soft clicking of the cargo locks. He had worked on the Wandering Star for 6 years now. He knew this ship like he knew his own heartbeat. That is why he noticed something wrong. It was a small thing. A number on his scanner that should not be there. The cargo hold showed one extra life sign. Do-hyun stood in the narrow hallway and looked at the screen for a long time. He counted the crew in his head. Captain Baek Ji-woo was on the bridge. Choi Eun-ji was in the pilot seat. Park Han-sol was sleeping in his bunk after a long shift, fixing the water recycler. That was 3. Do-hyun was 4. There should be 4 life signs on this ship, but the scanner showed 5. He thought about telling the captain. That was the correct thing to do, but something made him stop. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something else. Do-hyun put his scanner away and walked toward the lower cargo hold. The lower hold was cold and dark. They kept it that way to save power. Do-hyun turned on his flashlight and moved between the tall stacks of shipping crates. The company paid them to carry medical supplies to the outer colonies. Boring work, but safe work. He heard breathing. It was soft. Almost too soft to hear. But in the silence of the cargo hold, Do-hyun heard it clearly. He followed the sound to the back corner, where the oldest crates were stored. He moved one crate aside and pointed his flashlight into the gap. 2 eyes looked back at him. They were large and dark, like pools of black water. The face around them was thin and pale, with skin that held a soft, lavender color. A female. She was pressed into the corner like a trapped animal. Her body was wrapped in dirty cloth, and Do-hyun could see that she was shaking. She was not human. Do-hyun had seen many alien species in his years of space travel, but he did not recognize this one. She was humanoid, with 2 arms and 2 legs, but her features were different. Her ears were longer and pointed. Her fingers had an extra joint, and those eyes, they held a fear so deep that Do-hyun felt it in his own chest. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was barely a sound. "Please do not report me." Do-hyun did not move. He kept the flashlight pointed at her, but he did not reach for his communicator. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am." She stopped. Her mouth opened and closed. It seemed like she was trying to remember something. "I chose a name. From your databases. You may call me Yuna." "Yuna," Do-hyun repeated. "Velith," she said. "I am Velith." He had never heard of them. In all his travels, in all the stations and ports and colonies he had visited, he had never met a Velith. "How did you get on this ship?" Yuna looked down. "I hid. In the loading bay at Station 12. I waited until no one was watching. Then I climbed into the cargo." "Why?" She did not answer. Instead, she pressed herself deeper into the corner. Her shaking got worse. Do-hyun lowered his flashlight. The bright beam was clearly scaring her. In the dimmer light, he could see more details. Her clothes were torn and stained. Her feet were bare and covered in cuts. And on her arms, visible through the holes in her wrappings, he could see marks, scars. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Yuna looked up. Her dark eyes were wide with confusion. "What?" "Food." She stared at him like he had spoken a language she did not understand. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Stay here," Do-hyun said. "I will bring you something." He left the cargo hold and walked to the small kitchen area. His hands were shaking a little as he gathered food, some bread, some dried fruit, a container of water. He did not know why he was doing this. He should report her to the captain. She was a stowaway. That was a serious problem. But something about those eyes, that fear, those scars, he could not make himself do it. When he returned to the cargo hold, Yuna had not moved. She watched him approach with the same look. A small animal gives a large predator. Do-hyun set the food down on a crate near her and stepped back. It is safe, he said. I did not poison it. Yuna looked at the food. Then she looked at him. What do you want? She asked. In return? In return? Do-hyun frowned. Nothing. You are hungry. This is food. You should eat. Again. That look of confusion, like kindness, was a word she did not know. Slowly, carefully, she reached for the bread. She put a small piece in her mouth and chewed. Then, as if a dam had broken, she grabbed more and ate quickly, desperately. Slow down, Do-hyun said gently. There is more. You do not need to rush. Yuna stopped eating. She looked at him with those dark, deep eyes. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Why are you doing this? She finally asked. You do not know me. I am nothing to you. You are a person who is hungry and scared, Do-hyun said. That is enough reason to help. Yuna shook her head slowly. You are strange, she said. Humans are strange. Maybe. Do-hyun agreed. He sat down on a crate a few meters away from her. Not too close. And Do-hyun. Do-hyun. And Do-hyun. He did not want to frighten her more. Where did you come from, Yuna? Why are you running? Her face changed. The confusion faded. In its place came something harder. Something broken. I came from the ones who own me, she whispered. Do-hyun felt his stomach turn cold. Yuna pulled her wrappings tighter around her body. She did not answer. She did not need to. The scars on her arms, the fear in her eyes, the way she flinched at every sound, they told him everything he needed to know. Somewhere out there, someone was looking for her. Someone who believed they had the right to call another living being their property. Do-hyun sat in the cold cargo hold and watched Yuna eat. He did not know what he was going to do. He did not know how he was going to hide her, or protect her, or explain any of this to the captain. But he knew one thing with complete certainty. He was not going to give her back. 3 days passed. Do-hyun fell into a routine. Every few hours, when the others were busy, he would go down to the cargo hold. He brought food. He brought water. He brought blankets to keep Yuna warm in the cold storage area. Each time he came, she watched him with those dark, careful eyes. She accepted what he gave her, but she never relaxed. She never stopped being afraid. On the third night, Do-hyun could not sleep. He lay in his small bunk and stared at the ceiling. The ship hummed around him. He thought about Yuna, alone in the dark cargo hold. He thought about the scars on her arms. He thought about the words she had spoken. The ones who own me. He got up and walked to the cargo hold. Yuna was awake. She sat against the wall with a blanket wrapped around her thin shoulders. When Do-hyun appeared, she did not flinch as badly as before. She was getting used to him. That felt like progress. Cannot sleep? She asked. No, Do-hyun admitted. He sat down on his usual crate. You? I do not sleep much. She pulled the blanket tighter. Sleeping is dangerous. When you sleep, you cannot watch for threats. Do-hyun felt a pain in his chest. What kind of life had she lived? Where sleep was considered dangerous. You are safe here, he said. I promise. Yuna looked at him. You keep saying that word. Safe. I do not think I know what it means. They sat in silence for a while. The ship's engines made their low, steady sound. Finally, Do-hyun spoke again. Tell me about your people, he said. The Veleth. I have never heard of them. Yuna was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was flat, empty, like she was reciting facts about strangers. The Veleth had a homeworld once. It was called Veleth Prime. Green forests, blue oceans. My grandmother told me stories about it. She was born there, before the Dominion came. The Dominion? A coalition of powerful species, Yuna explained. They rule a large section of the galaxy. When they found Velith Prime, they decided our people would be useful. We are small. We are quiet. We do not fight well. We make good servants. She said the last word like it was poison in her mouth. They conquered our world 3 generations ago. Now, no free Velith exist. We are all property. Do-hyun felt sick. An entire species? Yes. Yuna looked down at her hands. We are bred for service. We are sold at markets. We are trained to obey. This is the way of things in the Dominion. That is slavery, Do-hyun said. His voice was harder than he intended. That is what humans call it. Yuna agreed. The Dominion calls it the natural order. They say some species are meant to rule, and some are meant to serve. They say we should be grateful, that we have purpose. Do-hyun wanted to hit something. He wanted to scream, but he kept his voice calm for Yuna's sake. And the scars? On your arms? Yuna went very still. She pulled her wrappings tighter, hiding the marks he had seen. Among my people, scars are shameful. Each scar represents something. A punishment, a training, a sale. She paused. When a Velith is sold to a new master, they are marked. So everyone knows who owns them. The more scars a Velith has, the more times they have been broken and sold again. How many times? Do-hyun asked quietly. Yuna did not answer. She did not need to. Her silence was answer enough. Do-hyun stood up. He pulled up the sleeve of his shirt and showed her his right arm. There, on his forearm, was a burn scar. Old and faded, but still visible. Yuna looked at it with wide eyes. I got this when I was 12 years old, Do-hyun said. I was helping my father cook. There was an accident with hot oil. It hurt very much. I cried for hours. He pulled his sleeve back down. But this scar does not make me weak. It does not make me broken. It is just something that happened to me. Something I survived. Yuna stared at him. But you show it. You are not ashamed. Why would I be ashamed? I did nothing wrong. I was a child who got hurt. The scar is proof that I healed. Do-hyun sat back down. Your scars are the same, Yuna. They are not proof that you were broken. They are proof that you survived. Every single time they tried to destroy you, you lived. You are still here. That is not shame. That is strength. Yuna's eyes filled with water. Tears rolled down her lavender cheeks. She did not make any sound. She just sat there, crying silently, like she had learned long ago to cry, without being heard. Do-hyun did not move closer. He did not try to touch her or comfort her. He understood that she was not ready for that. Instead, he just stayed. He sat on his crate and kept her company while she cried. After a long time, Yuna wiped her face with shaking hands. No one has ever said such things to me, she whispered. In my whole life. No one. Then everyone you have met before was wrong, Do-hyun said simply. Yuna looked at him with something new in her eyes. It was small and fragile, like a tiny flame that could be blown out by the smallest wind. But it was there. Hope, Do-hyun, she said. It was the first time she had used his name. Why are you helping me? Truly. You could be in great danger for hiding me. If the Dominion finds out, I do not care about the Dominion. Do-hyun interrupted. You should. They are powerful. They are cruel. They do not forgive. And God, I still do not care. Do-hyun leaned forward. Listen to me, Yuna. I am a human. Do you know anything about human history? She shook her head. Humans were slaves once too, he said. Long ago, on our homeworld, some humans owned other humans. It was terrible. It was evil. And we fought a long, bloody war to end it. Many people died. But we won. And we wrote it into our laws. into our beliefs, into our very souls, that no thinking being can own another, ever. He held her gaze. I will not give you back to them. I do not care what it costs me. I do not care if the whole Dominion comes looking for you. You are a person. You are not property. And as long as I am breathing, I will protect you. Yuna stared at him. More tears fell from her eyes. But this time, she did not look sad. She looked like someone who had been drowning and had finally found something to hold on to. I do not understand you, she said softly. But I want to. I want to understand what makes humans like this. Do-hyun smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. Stay with us, he said, and maybe you will find out. In the cold cargo hold, surrounded by crates of medical supplies, a human and a Velith sat together in the darkness. Outside, the stars moved slowly past. Somewhere out there, danger was waiting. But in this small, quiet moment, there was something else. There was connection. There was trust. There was the beginning of something that neither of them had expected. It was the beginning of a family. The warning came at the worst possible time. Do-hyun was in the kitchen, preparing a meal for Yuna, when Captain Baek Jiwoo's voice came through the ship's speakers. All crew to the bridge. Immediately, Do-hyun put down the food and hurried to the bridge. Choi Eun-ji was already there, standing at her pilot station with a worried look on her face. Park Han-sol arrived a moment later, still rubbing sleep from his eyes. Captain Jiwoo stood at the center of the bridge, her arms crossed over her chest. We have a problem, she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard. We are being ordered to dock at Station Korath 7 for mandatory inspection. Inspection? Hansel frowned. We just passed inspection at Station 12. Our papers are clean. Our cargo is legal. They are not looking for illegal cargo, Jiwoo said. She pressed a button, and a message appeared on the main screen. Do-hyun read it, and his blood turned to ice. Dominion Enforcement Notice. All vessels in Sector 7, subject to search. Priority. Recovery of escaped property. Species. Velith. Considered dangerous. Do not assist. Escaped property, Eun-ji said slowly. She looked at the captain. They are searching for a runaway slave. That is what it seems. Jiwoo shook her head. I do not like it. The Dominion has no authority over human vessels. But we are in their space. If we refuse inspection, they could impound the ship, or worse. Do-hyun stood very still. His heart was beating so fast that he could hear it in his ears. Yuna. They were looking for Yuna. He had to warn her. He had to hide her better. He had to. Do-hyun. He looked up. Eun-ji was watching him. Her eyes were sharp and knowing. You look pale, she said. Is something wrong? No, he said quickly. I am fine. Just surprised. That is all. Eun-ji kept watching him. She was a good pilot, but she was also good at reading people. Do-hyun could see the questions forming in her mind. We dock in 2 hours, Captain Jiwoo said. Everyone prepare your stations for inspection. And remember, we are a human vessel. We cooperate, but we do not submit. Understood? Everyone nodded. The meeting ended. Do-hyun walked quickly toward the cargo hold. Eun-ji followed him. Stop, she said, catching his arm in the hallway. Talk to me. What is going on? Do-hyun tried to pull away. Nothing. I need to check the cargo. Trime. Do-hyun. Her grip was strong. I have known you for 4 years. You are a terrible liar. Your face shows everything. She lowered her voice. The Velith they are looking for. She is on this ship. Is she not? He stopped fighting. There was no point in lying to Eun-ji. She already knew. Yes, he admitted. She is in the lower cargo hold. Her name is Yuna. She is. She is not dangerous, Yunji. She is scared. She is hurt. She is running from people who tortured her for her entire life. Unji's face was unreadable. For a long, terrible moment, Do-hyun thought she was going to report him to the captain. Then she sighed and released his arm. "Show me," she said. They went to the cargo hold together. Yuna was hiding in her usual corner. When she saw Unji, she shrank back in fear. "It is okay," Do-hyun said quickly. "She is a friend. She wants to help." Unji crouched down to Yuna's level. Her voice was soft. "Hello. I am Unji. I fly this ship. You do not need to be afraid of me." Yuna looked at Do-hyun. He nodded. Slowly, she relaxed a little. "The Dominion is searching for you," Unji said. "They are going to inspect our ship in 2 hours. If they find you here, they will take you back." "I know," Yuna whispered. "I will turn myself in. I do not want to cause trouble for—" "No." Unji's voice was sharp. "You will not turn yourself in. We will hide you." Yuna stared at her. "But why? You do not know me." Unji was silent for a moment. Then she pulled up her sleeve. On her arm, there was a tattoo. Numbers. A code. "I was born in a labor colony," Unji said quietly. "A human colony owned by a corporation. They put this number on me when I was 3 days old. I was not a person to them. I was a worker unit. I escaped when I was 16. It took me years to understand that I was worth more than my production value." She pulled her sleeve back down. "I know what it is like to be owned, Yuna. I will not let anyone take you back to that." Yuna's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and touched Unji's hand. A small, hesitant gesture. Unji held her hand gently. "Come," Unji said. "I know a place they will not find." They moved through the ship quickly. Unji led them to a small compartment hidden behind the engine room wall. It was a smuggler's hole, left over from a previous owner, barely big enough for one person. "Stay here," Unji said as Yuna climbed inside. "Do not make any sound. Do not move. No matter what you hear." "What if they find me?" Yuna asked. Do-hyun knelt beside the compartment. "They will not find you. I promise. And even if they do, we will not let them take you." "Why?" Yuna asked. It was the same question she kept asking. "Why do you care so much?" Do-hyun thought about it. There were many answers he could give. Because it was right. Because she deserved better. Because no one should have to live as property. But in the end, he said something simpler. "Because you are one of us now." The inspection came. The Dominion overseer was called Krill. He was tall and insectoid, with 4 arms and eyes that glittered like black stones. He walked through the ship like he owned it, touching things, opening containers, making comments in his clicking voice. "Humans," he said to Captain Jiwoo. "Soft creatures. Emotional. Sentimental. You make poor rulers but acceptable laborers. You do not understand the natural order." Jiwoo's face was stone. "We understand enough." "Do you?" Krill tilted his head. "Then you understand that property must be returned to its rightful owners. That is the law. That is the way of things." "Not our law," Jiwoo said quietly. "Not our way." Krill made a sound that might have been a laugh. So stubborn. So blind. He turned to his soldiers. "Search everywhere. Every corner. Every compartment." They searched for hours. They opened every crate. They scanned every room. They came close, so terribly close, to the hidden compartment. Do-hyun held his breath until his lungs burned. But they did not find her. Finally, Krill stood at the airlock, ready to leave. He looked at Captain Jiwoo one last time. "We will be watching you," he said. "All of you. Remember, the Dominion does not forget. And escaped property is always recovered. Always." He left. The airlock closed behind him. The ship was silent. Do-hyun ran to the engine room. He opened the hidden compartment. Yuna was inside, shaking so badly that she could barely climb out. "They are gone," he said. "You are safe. You are safe." Yuna collapsed into his arms. She was crying, sobbing, releasing hours of terror in great shaking waves. Do-hyun held her and let her cry. Eunji stood nearby, watching with quiet eyes. They had survived. For now, but the overseer's words echoed in Do-hyun's mind. Escaped property is always recovered. Always. This was not over. Not even close. The ship was quiet after the inspection. The crew moved through their duties in silence, each person lost in their own thoughts. The Dominion vessel had departed, but its shadow remained. Everyone felt it. Yuna no longer stayed in the cargo hold. After the inspection, Captain Ji-woo called a meeting. Do-hyun expected anger. He expected punishment for hiding a stowaway. Instead, Ji-woo just looked at him with tired eyes. "How long?" she asked. 8 days, Do-hyun admitted. Ji-woo sighed. She turned to look at Yuna, who stood in the corner of the bridge, trying to make herself as small as possible. "You are the one they are hunting," Ji-woo said. It was not a question. Yuna nodded. "I am sorry. I did not mean to bring danger to your ship. I will leave if you want. At the next station, I can." "You will stay," Ji-woo interrupted. Her voice was firm. "You will stay on this ship, where we can protect you. The Dominion has no authority over human vessels. As long as you are with us, you are under our protection." Yuna's eyes went wide. Ji-woo walked closer to her. The captain was not a tall woman, but she carried herself with the weight of someone who had seen many things. "I have been flying ships for 30 years, she said. "I have seen the Dominion's work. I have seen the markets where they sell people like livestock. I have seen the broken bodies they leave behind." Her voice hardened. "I will not participate in that system. Not ever. Not for any reason." And so Yuna became part of the crew. Not officially, they could not put her name in any records. But she ate with them. She slept in a real bunk. She walked the hallways without hiding. It was strange for her. Do-hyun could see it in the way she moved, always looking over her shoulder, in the way she flinched when someone spoke too loudly, in the way she waited for permission before eating, before sitting, before doing anything at all. But slowly, day by day, she began to change. On the 5th night after the inspection, Do-hyun found Yuna sitting alone in the observation room. This was a small space with a large window that looked out at the stars. It was Do-hyun's favorite place on the ship. He was surprised to find Yuna there. "May I sit?" he asked. Yuna nodded. He settled into the seat beside her. For a while, they just watched the stars in silence. "I never saw stars like this before," Yuna said finally. "On the ships I traveled on, there were no windows for servants. We stayed in the lower decks, in the dark. Never? Never." She pressed her hand against the window. "They are beautiful." "Yes," Do-hyun agreed. "They are." More silence. Yuna seemed to be working up the courage to say something. Do-hyun waited. He had learned that pushing her only made her retreat. "I want to tell you something," she said at last. "About myself. About what happened to me. I have never told anyone before. But I want to tell you. Only if you are ready," Do-hyun said gently. "I do not know if I am ready. But I want to try. 7. Well, 7. She took a deep breath. When she spoke again, her voice was flat, like she was reading from a script. This was how she protected herself, Do-hyun realized. By separating from the words she was saying. "I was taken from my mother when I was 4 years old. That is the age when Veleth children are sold for the first time. I do not remember her face. I only remember her voice, calling my name as they took me away." Do-hyun's hands tightened into fists. He forced himself to stay still, to listen. My first master was a merchant. He used Veleth servants to clean his ships and carry cargo. The work was hard, but he did not hurt us much. Then he went bankrupt and sold all his property, including me. She listed her masters like items in a catalog. The mining boss who beat servants who did not work fast enough. The noble family who treated her like furniture. Invisible and unimportant. The military officer who enjoyed causing pain. Each time I was sold, they marked me, she said. That is the custom. So the new owner knows they have received legitimate property. She paused. Her hands were shaking. Yuna, Do-hyun said softly. You do not have to. I want to show you, she interrupted. I need to show someone. I need someone to see. She stood up and turned away from him. Slowly, she began to unwrap the cloth that covered her upper body. Do-hyun wanted to look away. He felt like he was intruding on something deeply private, but she had asked him to see. So he watched. Her back was covered in scars. They were not random. They were deliberate. Someone had carved words into her skin, letter by letter, line by line. The scars were old and raised, white against her lavender skin. Do-hyun did not know the Dominion language well, but he knew enough to read some of the words. This one is nothing. This one has no value. This one exists to serve. Yuna stood there, her back exposed, her body trembling. They write on us, she whispered, so we never forget what we are. So we carry their words forever. Do-hyun felt something break inside him. It was not anger, though anger was there too. It was something deeper. His heart physically hurt, like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed. Please do not look, Yuna murmured. It is ugly. I am ugly. I should not have shown you. I am sorry. Yuna, Do-hyun's voice cracked. Yuna, stop. She stopped. She did not turn around. She just stood there, waiting for his judgment, waiting for him to be disgusted, to turn away. Instead, Do-hyun stood up. He walked to her. He did not touch her. He knew she was not ready for that. But he stood close enough that she could hear his voice clearly. These words, he said. These things they wrote on you. They are lies. Every single one of them. Do you understand me? Lies. They would not lie, Yuna said. Why would they lie? Because they are monsters, Do-hyun said. Because they needed to make you believe you were nothing, so they could treat you like nothing. If they admitted the truth that you are a person, with thoughts and feelings and value, then they would have to admit that what they did to you was evil. Yuna made a small sound. It might have been a laugh. It might have been a sob. You look at me, she said, and you see something worth saving. I look at myself, and I see these words. I see them every day. Every time I change clothes. Every time I try to sleep. I cannot escape them. Do-hyun moved around to face her. Her cheeks were wet with tears. Her dark eyes held so much pain that he could barely stand to look. Listen to me, he said. I am going to tell you something, and I need you to remember it. For the rest of your life, I need you to remember this. She waited. You are not what they wrote on you. You are what you have survived. You are not nothing. You are everything they tried to destroy and failed. He held her gaze. And one day, I swear to you, someone is going to pay for what they did. Not you. Them. Yuna stared at him. The tears kept falling. But somewhere, deep in her eyes, something shifted. You really believe that? She whispered. Yes. How? How can you be so sure? Do-hyun thought about it. About history. About his ancestors who had fought against slavery. About the long, painful journey humans had taken to understand that every person had worth. Because I am human, he said. And this is what we do. We see evil, and we fight it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how impossible it seems. Yuna covered her back again with shaking hands. She looked at the stars outside the window. They reflected in her wet eyes like tiny points of light. "I want to believe you," she said quietly. "Then stay with us," Do-hyun said. "Stay, and let us prove it to you." She did not answer. But she did not say no. And in the silent observation room, surrounded by a billion stars, that was enough. Do-hyun could not sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Yuna's scars, the words carved into her back. "This one is nothing." He lay in his bunk and stared at the ceiling and felt a cold fire burning inside him. By morning, he had made a decision. He found Captain Jiwoo on the bridge, checking navigation charts. She looked up when he entered. "You look terrible," she said. "I did not sleep. Neither did I." Jiwoo turned back to her charts. "Yuna showed you her scars." Do-hyun blinked. "How did you know?" "Unji told me. She checked on Yuna last night and found her crying. Yuna told her everything." Jiwoo's voice was heavy. "I have seen many terrible things in my life, Do-hyun, but that is something else." "Captain." Do-hyun stepped closer. "We need to change course. We need to change course. We need to change course." Jiwoo looked at him. "What are you suggesting?" "We take Yuna to Earth, to human space. She can claim asylum there. The Dominion has no authority over human territory. If we can get her to Earth, she will be safe." Jiwoo was silent for a long moment. She stared at the navigation charts like they held all the answers in the universe. "Do you understand what you are asking?" she said finally. "If we divert to Earth with an escaped Dominion slave, we will become enemies of the most powerful coalition in this sector. They will never let us dock at another Dominion station. They may try to intercept us. They may attack us. I know. Our ship is old. Our weapons are weak. We have 4 crew members and no military training. I know. And you still want to do this?" "Yes." Do-hyun did not hesitate. "I would rather die fighting than hand her back to those monsters." Jiwoo studied his face. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her, because she nodded slowly. "I feel the same way," she said. "But it is not my decision alone. This affects everyone on this ship. We need to ask the others." She called a meeting. Unji and Han-sol gathered on the bridge. Yuna stood in the corner, looking scared and confused. "I will explain the situation," Jiwoo said. "Do-hyun wants us to change course for Earth. He wants us to take Yuna to human space, where she can claim asylum and be protected from the Dominion." Han-sol frowned. "That is a long trip, and dangerous. Very dangerous." Jiwoo agreed. "The Dominion will not let us go easily. They consider Yuna their property. They will try to stop us." "Then why would we do it?" Han-sol asked. It was not a challenge he genuinely wanted to understand. Do-hyun stepped forward. "Because it is right," he said. "Because humans were slaves once too. We fought wars to end it. We wrote it into our laws, our bones, our souls that no thinking being is property." He looked at each of them in turn. "I know what I am asking. I know it is dangerous. But think about what will happen if we do nothing. We drop Yuna at the next station. The Dominion finds her. They take her back to her masters. They punish her for running. They probably kill her. And we spend the rest of our lives knowing that we could have done something and we chose not to." His voice grew stronger. "I did not become a spacer to look the other way when evil happens in front of me. I became a spacer because I believed in something. I believed in exploration, in discovery, in the best parts of what humanity can be." He turned to face Yuna. She was trembling, but she met his eyes. "This woman has been through hell," Do-hyun said. "She has been tortured, branded, sold like an animal. But she survived. She escaped. She made it all the way to our ship, hiding in the cargo hold like a piece of forgotten luggage. And now she is asking us for help. Not with words she is too scared to ask, But she is asking. Every time she flinches. Every time she apologizes for existing. Every time she offers to turn herself in, so we do not have to take any risk. Every time she offers to take any risk. He looked back at the crew. If we turn her over, we become what we swore we would never be. We become the kind of people who watch evil happen and do nothing. And I refuse. I refuse to be that person. Silence filled the bridge. Do-hyun's heart was pounding. He had said everything he could say. Now, it was up to them. Eunji spoke first. I already told Yuna I would not let anyone take her. I meant it. Hansel rubbed his chin. He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. I have a sister back on Earth. She is about Yuna's age. If she was in trouble, I would want someone to help her. He nodded slowly. I am in. Everyone looked at Captain Jiwoo. The captain stood at the center of the bridge. Her hands clasped behind her back. She had the face of someone making a decision that could not be unmade. When I was young, she said, my grandmother told me a story. She grew up during a time when our own people were still hurting each other. Governments treating citizens like disposable resources. Companies owning workers like property. She told me about the people who fought against that. The ones who risked everything. Because they believed that every person had value. She looked at Yuna. My grandmother would never forgive me if I turned you away. And I would never forgive myself. She walked to the navigation console and entered new coordinates. Setting course for Earth, she announced. Full speed. Everyone prepare for a long journey. 2. Yuna stared at them. She looked like someone who had been drowning and suddenly found solid ground. Tears streamed down her face. But for once, they did not look like tears of sadness. I do not understand, she whispered. I do not understand any of you. Why would you do this for me? I am nobody. I am nothing. Do-hyun walked to her. He took her hands in his the first time he had touched her directly. You are not nothing, he said. You never were. You are someone who was told a lie so many times that you started to believe it. But that lie ends now. Today. On this ship. Live 1. 1-1. He squeezed her hands gently. You are one of us now. You are crew. And we do not abandon our crew. Yuna broke. She collapsed against him, sobbing, clutching his shirt like he was the only solid thing in the universe. Do-hyun held her. Eunji came and placed a hand on her shoulder. Hansol stood nearby, awkward but present. Even Captain Jiwoo watched with soft eyes. They were not a family by blood. They were not even close friends, not all of them. But in that moment, on that small ship, in the middle of empty space, they became something more. They became people who had chosen to do the right thing, no matter the cost. The ship's engines hummed louder as they accelerated toward human space. Behind them, somewhere, in the darkness, the Dominion was watching. The battle was just beginning. They knew the Dominion would come. They just did not know when. The answer was 3 days into their journey. The alarm sounded in the middle of the night cycle. Do-hyun jerked awake and ran to the bridge, still pulling on his jacket. The others were already there. Captain Jiwoo stood at the main console, her face grim. Long-range sensors picked up a ship, she said. Dominion fast attack vessel. It is coming straight for us. Eunji was already in the pilot seat, her fingers flying over the controls. How long until they catch us? At current speed. About 6 hours. Can we outrun them? Jiwoo shook her head. They are twice as fast as we are. There is no way we can reach human space before they intercept us. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Do-hyun looked at the others. Hansol looked scared but determined. Eunji's jaw was tight with concentration. And in the corner, Yuna stood with her hands pressed against her chest, her face pale with terror. There has to be something, Do-hyun said. Some way to slow them down. Some place we can hide. Yoonji pulled up a navigation chart. Her eyes scanned the display quickly. Wait. There. She pointed at a section of the map. The Broken Belt. It is an asteroid field about 2 hours from here. Dense enough to mess with sensors and block weapons fire. An asteroid field? Hansel looked doubtful. In this old ship? We will be torn apart. Maybe, Unji admitted. But if we stay in open space, they will definitely catch us. At least in the asteroids. We have a chance. Captain Jiwoo considered it for only a moment. Do it, she ordered. Change course for the Broken Belt. The ship turned. Behind them, still invisible to the naked eye, the Dominion vessel followed. The next 2 hours were the longest of Do-hyun's life. He tried to stay busy checking equipment, helping Hansol prepare the engine for stress. But his mind kept returning to Yuna. He found her in the observation room, staring out at the stars with empty eyes. They are coming because of me, she said when he entered. If I turned myself in, they would leave you alone. No, Do-hyun said immediately. Do-hyun, please. I cannot let you die for me. Any of you. You have been kind to me. You have treated me like a person. I cannot repay that kindness by getting you killed. Do-hyun sat down beside her. Yuna, listen to me. I am going to tell you something, and I need you to understand it. She looked at him. If you turn yourself in, they will not let us go anyway. We defied them. We helped you. In their eyes, that makes us guilty too. And even if they would let us go, we would not accept it. Not if it meant giving you back to them. Why? Her voice cracked. Why? Do you care so much about me? Do-hyun thought about the question. It was the same question she kept asking. The same question she had asked since the beginning. Why? 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 Because you are crew now, he said. And that means something to us. It means we are family. We protect our family, Yuna. That is what humans do. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. I have never had a family. You do now. She leaned against him, her small body trembling. Do-hyun put his arm around her shoulders and held her while the ship flew toward danger. The Broken Belt was as bad as Hansel had feared. Asteroids filled the space like a frozen storm. Rocks ranging from pebbles to mountains tumbling through the void. Unji guided the ship through them with skill and focus, her hands steady on the controls. The Dominion ship has entered the field, she reported. They are having trouble tracking us. The asteroids are blocking their sensors. Good, Jiwoo said. Keep moving. Find the densest part of the field and take us there. They went deeper. The asteroids got bigger. Smaller rocks scraped against the hull, making horrible sounds. Warning lights flashed. Hansol ran from console to console, trying to keep the ship together. They are gaining, Unji said. Her voice was tight with strain. They are better at this than I expected. An explosion shook the ship. Everyone grabbed for support. They are shooting at us, Hansol reported. Weapons fire. They hit the rear shields. Can we take another hit? Maybe one. Maybe two. After that, he did not finish the sentence. Do-hyun looked around the bridge. These people had become his family. Jiwoo, the captain who hid a warm heart behind a stern face. Unji, the pilot who understood what it meant to escape from slavery. Hansol, the engineer who worked miracles with old equipment. And Yuna, the broken woman who was slowly learning to hope. He could not let them die. I have an idea, he said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. The cargo hold. We are still carrying medical supplies, right? Some of those crates contain pressurized containers. Chemicals. If we dump them behind us, and Unji shoots them at the right moment. Hansel's eyes widened. You want to create an explosion in the asteroid field. The debris would hit the Dominion ship. It is risky, Jiwoo said. If the timing is wrong, the explosion could hit us instead. If we do nothing, they will catch us anyway, Do-hyun said. This is our best chance. Jiwoo looked at Unji. Can you do it? Unji smiled. It was a fierce, dangerous smile. Dohyun and Hansol ran to the cargo hold. They worked quickly, dragging the containers to the airlock. Through the walls, they could hear more impacts. The ship groaned and shook. Ready, Hansel shouted into his communicator. Do it, Jiwoo ordered. They opened the airlock. The containers tumbled into space, spinning toward the ship behind them. A moment passed. 2. Then, Oni fired. The explosion was massive. It lit up the asteroid field like a small sun. Rocks flew in all directions. The wandering star shook so hard that Dohyun fell to the floor. Then, silence. He scrambled to his feet and ran back to the bridge. Did it work? Unji was laughing. Actually laughing. Look, she said, pointing at the sensor display. The Dominion ship was damaged. Not destroyed, but hurt. It was drifting. Its engines flickering. Pieces of asteroid were stuck in its hull. They are pulling back, Unji reported. They cannot follow us anymore. A cheer went up on the bridge. Hansel pumped his fist. Even Captain Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. Yuna stood frozen, staring at the display. We stopped them, Dohyun corrected. All of us. Together. She looked at him. Her dark eyes were filled with an emotion he had not seen before. It took him a moment to recognize it. Wonder. You really did it, she whispered. You fought for me. You risked everything. Of course we did, Unji said. She walked over to Yuna and put a hand on her shoulder. You are one of us now. That means something. Yuna looked around at the crew at these strange, stubborn, impossible humans who had chosen to fight rather than surrender her. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I do not know what to say, she managed. Dohyun smiled. You do not have to say anything. Just stay with us. That is enough. The wandering star limped through the asteroid field and emerged on the other side, battered but alive. Ahead of them, still far away, but getting closer, with every moment, lay human space. They were going to make it. They were going to be free. 3 months had passed since the wandering star crossed into human space. 3 months of interviews, medical examinations, legal proceedings, and endless waiting. 3 months that changed Yuna's life forever. The United Earth Tribunal was a massive building in Geneva, Switzerland. It stood beside a lake, surrounded by mountains that still wore snow on their peaks even in summer. Yuna had never seen mountains before. She had never seen snow. She had never seen a sky so blue that it hurt to look at. Earth was beautiful, and terrifying, and overwhelming. But today, she had to be brave. The tribunal chamber was huge, filled with rows of seats for observers and media. At the front, a panel of judges sat behind a long table. Representatives from a dozen human nations were present, and at the back, visible on video screens, were ambassadors from the Dominion. Overseer Krill was there. His insectoid face was expressionless, but Yuna could feel his anger across the distance. He had come to demand her return, to remind the humans of their place in the galactic order. This is a simple matter, Krill was saying. The property known as Subject 7741 belongs to a legitimate owner. The Dominion demands its return, as required by interstellar trade agreements. One of the human judges, an older woman with gray hair, leaned forward. You keep using the word property, but the being in question is clearly sapient. She thinks. She feels. She speaks. By what right do you claim ownership over a thinking being? By the right of law, Krill said smoothly. By the right of tradition. By the natural order of the universe. Some species are meant to rule. Others are meant to serve. This has been true for millions of years. Your human ideas of equality are charming, but they do not change reality. The judge's eyes were cold. We disagree. Your disagreement is irrelevant. If you refuse to return our property, there will be consequences. Economic consequences. Political consequences. Perhaps military consequences. A murmur went through the chamber. The threat was clear. The head judge, a tall man with a calm voice, raised his hand for silence. We have heard the Dominion's position. 40 doe. Now we will hear from the individual in question. Yuna stood. Her legs were shaking. But Do-hyun was there, in the front row of observers, and he gave her a small nod. She thought of Yoonji's hand on her shoulder, of Hansol's awkward smiles, of Captain Jiwoo's quiet protection. She walked to the witness stand. The chamber fell silent. Every eye was on her, the small alien woman with lavender skin and dark eyes. She stood there, looking out at the sea of faces, and for a moment, she could not speak. Then she found Do-hyun's face in the crowd. He smiled at her, and somehow, that gave her the strength she needed. My name is Yuna, she began. Her voice was soft but steady. That is not the name I was born with. I do not remember my birth name. It was taken from me when I was 4 years old, along with my mother and my freedom. She told her story. All of it. The taking, the training, the years of service, the endless parade of masters. She spoke without emotion at first, using the flat, distant voice that had protected her for so long. But as she continued, the emotion began to break through. They told me I was nothing, she said. They told me I existed only to serve. They told me that my pain did not matter, that my thoughts did not matter, that my life did not matter. Her voice cracked. And I believed them. For 20 years, I believed every word. She paused. The chamber was completely silent. Then I met humans. She looked at the judges, at the observers, at the cameras that were broadcasting her words across the planet. The first human I met was a cargo inspector named Kang Do-hyun. I was hiding in his ship, starving and terrified. He could have reported me. He could have turned me over to the Dominion. Instead, he brought me food. He brought me water. He asked if I was okay. Tears began to fall down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. I asked him why. Why would he help me? I was nothing to him. He said I was a person who was hungry and scared. He said that was reason enough. She took a deep breath. On my world, scars are shameful. Each mark shows how many times you have been broken and sold. I have many scars, more than I can count. For my whole life, I have hidden them. I have been ashamed of them. Slowly, she began to remove her outer garments. The chamber stirred with surprise and confusion. But no one stopped her. She turned around. Her back was bare. Every scar was visible. The words carved into her skin were clear for everyone to see. This one is nothing. This one has no value. This one exists to serve. A sound went through the chamber. Some people gasped. Some people cried out. Some people simply stared in horrified silence. Yuna turned back to face the crowd. She did not cover herself. For the first time in her life, she did not hide. They wrote these words on me, she said. They wanted me to carry their hate forever. They wanted me to believe I was nothing. Her voice grew stronger, but a human looked at these words. And he wept. Not because I was broken, but because I had been made to believe I was. He told me that scars are not shame. He told me they are proof that I survived, proof that I am someone. She looked directly at Overseer Krill on the video screen. You say I am property. You say I have no value. You say that some species are meant to rule and others are meant to serve. But the humans taught me something different. They taught me that every thinking being has worth, that no one has the right to own another person, that the only true power is the power of kindness. She put her hand over her heart. I am not property. I was never property. I am Yuna. I am a survivor. I am free. And I will never go back. The chamber erupted. People were standing, applauding, crying. The head judge called for order, but it took several minutes for the noise to die down. When it finally did, the judges withdrew to make their decision. Yuna was escorted to a waiting room, where the crew of the Wandering Star gathered around her. "You were amazing," Yunji said, hugging her tightly. "I was so scared," Yuna admitted. "Being brave does not mean not being scared," Captain Jiwoo said. "It means doing the right thing, even when you are terrified." They waited. An hour passed. 2. Finally, the judges returned. The head judge stood. The chamber fell silent. "The United Earth Tribunal has reached its decision," he announced. "We reject the Dominion's demand for the return of the individual known as Yuna. Under human law, she is recognized as a sapient being with full rights. She is hereby granted refugee status and permanent protection within Earth's jurisdiction." Yuna felt her knees go weak. Do-hyun caught her before she could fall. The judge continued. "Furthermore, we declare that any member of the Velith species who reaches human space will be granted the same protection. Earth does not recognize the concept of sapient property. Earth will never participate in the institution of slavery, regardless of the diplomatic consequences." Krill's image on the screen flickered. For a moment, his expressionless face seemed to show something like fury. Then, the connection cut off. The Dominion had lost. Later that day, Do-hyun took Yuna to a balcony overlooking the ocean. The Pacific stretched to the horizon, vast and blue and endless. She had never seen anything like it. "What is it called?" she asked softly. Do-hyun smiled. "Freedom," he said. Then he laughed. "Actually, it is called the Pacific, but freedom works too." Yuna laughed. It was the first time she had ever truly laughed. Not the nervous sound she made when she was scared, but a real laugh that came from somewhere deep inside her. She stood on the balcony, the wind in her hair, the sun on her face, and looked out at the world that had given her a new life. Behind her stood the crew of the Wandering Star, the humans who had risked everything to save her family. Above her, the stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was still powerful, still dangerous, still holding millions of Velith in chains. But things were changing. Earth had made its choice, and where one human stood, others would follow. Yuna did not know what the future would bring, but for the first time in her life, she was not afraid. She was home.